Hello, my name is Austin. I am a self-taught sewist, and today I'm going to show you how to make a quilted book sleeve. First, I'm going to cut two 8.5 by 11 pieces of my exterior main fabric. Now, this can be any cute fabric that you have. I'm using a quilting cotton here. I'm also going to cut two lining pieces. Now, for this version, I decided to cut a matching exterior pocket, but if you wanted to change things up, you could use a different fabric, a different texture, or something more interesting. Now, I've decided to quilt my interior for this version, but you can just as well quilt the exterior. Here you see my plain cotton lining fabric, and I'm just going to draw a grid of diamonds. You could also draw a square grid. This is just what I was feeling that day. You'll see I'm using my rulers to get some even spacing and use my wash away pencil to get some nice straight lines to sew later when I go to quilt this piece. Speaking of quilting, I'm going to use some basting spray to get my lining cotton onto this quilt batting. This is just so it doesn't shift around while I go to stitch the quilting later. You will see that I have more than two lining pieces here. That's because I was making four book sleeves at the same time, which definitely don't have to do. I was just feeling very productive that day. Now that I have all my lining pieces spray basted onto my cotton quilt batting, I'm gonna cut them out and you can enjoy some lovely cutting sounds. Now that we got everything cut, it's time to sew. The first thing I'm gonna sew is the quilting lines on all my lining fabric with that batting spray basted onto them. I'm going to go ahead and sew straight down those lines we drew earlier with our water erasable pencil. And you can see here that I'm kind of batching all of my lining fabrics. Because I was doing multiple this day, it just made more sense for me to just go in one long straight line down all of the diagonals, cut the pieces apart, and go down another straight line. Made my process a little quicker that day. After I've quilted all of my lining pieces, I'm going to go ahead and sew two of those pieces together, right sides facing, so that's those cotton pieces facing and the quilt batting facing out now. You'll see here, once I turn the corner, I'm gonna leave a small gap so that I can turn this right side out at the very end. Moving on to the exterior fabric, I am going to hem this little pocket we cut just so we have a clean top to that pocket. Now this is going to be on the exterior, so you want it to look nice. The stitches will show, so I'm trying to be very clean and even with this stitching. I ended up also cutting this little rectangle out of my exterior fabric so I could make a little tab unless in case you wanted to put on, I don't know, a keychain, your keys, something like that. So I just folded it in quarters, ironed it, and I'm gonna just stitch down one side and you'll see me add that tab in here soon. With the pocket hemmed nicely, I'm gonna go ahead and baste it onto the front on the sides and bottom. And I'm going to stitch right through the center there from the top of the pocket down to the bottom. I find that creating two separate pocket areas is kind of nice for holding pencils or sunglasses or smaller, taller objects. Now you can make these really any size again. It is sewer's choice here, but I found that this is the most functional for me. So you'll see I stitch all the way to the bottom, do a couple stitches across, and stitch parallel all the way back up to the top of the pocket, just to give it a little more strength in one row of stitching. Just like with my quilted lining pieces, I am going to sew the two main exterior pieces together, right sides facing. But instead of leaving a gap this time, I am going to sew down one side, across the bottom, and up the other side. So, joke's on me, I made that little tab and forgot to put it in before I sewed the two exterior pieces together. You'll see me here, seam ripping just a small section where I want that tab to be, and I'm going to go ahead and fold it in half and insert it. Now, I'm making sure it's on the inside because when I flip it to the outside, right side facing out, it'll be on the exterior instead of the interior. I'm just going to go ahead and sew that little section closed and we're good to go. After that, I can finally trim all my seams. You see me here trimming the seams on the exterior, and I'm also going to trim the seams on my quilted lining pieces. If you can't tell, I do need to get my scissors sharpened. But now that those seams are trimmed, I'm going to turn my exterior piece right side out and use my little corner turner to,
Oh,
yeah, I turn the corners and pop through the seam. So once that was fixed, I have my exterior piece all turned right side out. You can see my little tab is on the correct side. I'm going to put that into my lining piece and line up those seams and then sew right around the top there. With the lining and exterior pieces sewn together at the top, I'm going to pull that exterior piece out through the lining fabric. You can see that's why we left that little gap there, so we can turn everything the way it's supposed to be. With just a little bit of finagling and not causing any major destruction, I can turn that lining the way it's supposed to be, and I'll be left with this little open seam that I can close with a top stitch, or I like to slip stitch because it's nice and clean and disappears. The last thing we have to do is push the quilted lining piece down into the exterior section, and your book sleeve is ready to go. We did it! Thank you for joining me on this little video of how to make a quilted book sleeve. Bye!